And there we are. Teams on the field. Go ahead, gentlemen.
Alright, I'm Kill 2 here with Angel on, and finally we have BricK Squad versus Panda Team. BricK Squad's on your left. They have brought a Macarial, 3 Tengus, 1 Scimitar, 3 Dramiels, 1 Daredevil, and a Saber.
And from Panda Team we have 3 Tengus, a Nighthawk, Scimitar, Ferox, Drake, and a Vulture.
So here we go. Interesting. BricK immediately kind of split up. Their Frigs went all kinds of directions. Tengus went all kinds of directions. They're already way spread out. And already we're seeing the Panda Team Scimitar taking tons of damage. Not looking too good for him so far.
And the Panda Team Scimitar is approaching deep armor, and the Saber from BricK Squad looks like he's about to hit armor. I don't know, if I was Panda Team, I'd be pooping bricks right now.
Yeah, this is pretty sweet so far. Tons of damage. At least it looks like tons of damage coming out for BricK Squad. I like this setup. Originally they didn't have this logistics on the field, so I was wondering if they weren't going to bring one. They did lose that Saber finally, but that's not really a critical part of their team. Still everything else intact. I don't know, the damage has slowed down a little bit. I thought with the Scimitar down they'd be able to kind of, you know, have room to do whatever they wanted. They're shooting this Ferox, and it is dropping, definitely, but not super fast.
Yeah, the Ferox does seem to be slowly going down. Not much other damage is being directed elsewhere. The BricK Squad Dramiel is taking some damage, but he does seem to be outspeeding most of it.
Yeah, that's Ferox definitely running smart bombs. Kind of silly. I love Feroxes, but I'm not sure this one was one I would have loved. It's dead now, so left with just 3 Tengus, a Drake, and a Nighthawk for Panda Team. Still everything pretty much except that Saber on BricK Squad's side. I'm curious about the role the Macarial's playing in this setup. It looks so much, I mean, they almost look like mirror setups, but you've got a lot more Frigs, which I like. I think having the Frigs is always a good thing. But we've got the Macarial, which just looks kind of out of place. I mean, it's a long-range ship, but it's definitely an interesting one to put in there with Tengus.
Well, even with autocannons, it can hit almost anything in the arena from one end to the other. So it is a pretty interesting setup, especially alongside the Tengus themselves. The frigates seem to be doing a really good job controlling the positioning of the Panda Team, and the faction frigates that they have chosen are actually quite high damage, especially those Dramiels with 3 drones and their autocannons.
You know, I think this Macarial is going to go down. It is shield tanked. Scimitar's still on the field, so I guess things could turn around, but he may be jammed or something right now. I don't see shield transfer coming, and Macarial's in armor, and as a, you know, shield tank ship, that's not good at all. The Drake for Panda Team going down at the same time, but BricK Squad's gotta get it together here. They're gonna lose a really big chunk of their team.
That Scimitar doesn't seem to be moving at all. No drone, its drones are orbiting itself. Not really sure what's going on with him, and that Macarial is now approaching structure and bleeding into it. That's a pretty big component to their team, it looks like. And I wouldn't be surprised if once that Macarial is down, we see a lot less damage going out. Right now, we're not seeing a whole ton of damage being put on the Panda Team right now. It looks like they are probably going to switch to the Scimitar right after this Macarial and just slowly whittle away at the Tengus while the frigates for last.
Yeah, and there it goes. That's really significant. I mean, point significant, ISK significance, definitely. You know, those things are at least $1 billion to put on the field, so that hurts no matter how you cut it. This Nighthawk going down pretty fast for Panda Team now. He's real low, but still a really close match. I think it's probably safe to say that the Panda Team side at least is fielding some pretty significant E-War. I don't know if that's in the form of damps or in the form of ECM, but you know, that Scimitar for BricK Squad definitely not doing its job.
It seems like he might actually be crashed at the moment, which would explain the lack of movement. Either way, it looks like he's going to go down momentarily, but not before the Panda Team Panda Team Nighthawk dies, and now we have 3 Tengus left for Panda Team.
Yeah, we're gonna have a Tengu showdown, which kind of looks like it's gonna be the name of the game for at least day 1 here. We've seen a lot of Tengus, and I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if the Frigs have any impact here, and definitely interesting to see if the difference in setups, even though it's difficult for us to tell what that actually is. Certainly, these Tengus can do a good job at ECM and also do a good job at tanks. So this, it's hard to tell looking at just having 3 Tengus on either side which one's in better shape.
It looks like the frigates are making a difference. They are controlling the positioning of Panda Team, and the first Panda Team Tengu is about to approach 50% shield, while the Tengus, as a whole for BricK squad, do not seem to be taking much damage. One of their Tengus at about 90% shield, but going through very slowly right now.
Yeah, this is definitely BricK squad in pretty good shape. It's kind of weird. Range and tackle don't really influence this match at this point a lot. The Daredevil, capable of that 90% web, makes a pretty awesome tackler. But at this point, all the ships on the field that do the damage have the same range, and they all do plenty of damage regardless of the speed of the target for the most part, at least something as big as a Tengu. So DPS of the Frigs might be the thing that's really tipping the scales, or it could just be that the Tengus on the BricK squad side have more tank and less ECM. But either way, Tengu number 1 for Panda Team goes down, and it looks pretty solid at this point for BricK squad, even though they lost that flashy Macariel earlier.
Yeah, it certainly seems like BricK squad is going to hold off against the remaining 2 Panda Team Tengus. Once again, 2 missile spamming teams, but one just uses the maneuverability of their frigates really to their most. And those scimitars really didn't seem to make much of a difference. I mean, even with the BricK squad scimitar really not being present at all, BricK squad still managed to hold their own.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see, this match of the Tengus. Not curious, like I'd actually want to watch it because it'd be freaking boring. But watching the Tengus without the Frigs and see how much difference there was, because, these Frigs are definitely, I think, I don't know, you could do some maths and figure it out, but they're a lot of DPS for point, like that ratio, the DPS to point ratio, is pretty awesome for the Frigs. You only pay a couple points and you get, a good 200 or 300 DPS, which is probably a lot better than the Tengus get for point to DPS ratio. So having those there and not having Tengus be able to kill them is probably making a real big difference.
It's interesting. The Daredevil, with the Dominion changes, the Daredevil does an incredible amount of damage, and with Tengus being such a large target, and especially assuming that they have shield extenders, they're going to hit them for full damage. The Drake's not going to be, the Tengu's not going to be moving at all, and the Daredevil's going to do a lot of damage for its little size. It's a really ferocious little ship. And the Tengu's doing consistent damage, and even the Dremul's being able to put out 3 drones of their own. You get almost 2 cruiser-sized DPS from that.
So we have just 1 Tengu left, and I think, this is pretty much over. It's going to be a little bit for them to wear him down. It looks like he may even have a slightly stronger tank than his friends, which is really fantastic, but I think the outcome is pretty much determined at this point.
It's certainly possible that that last Tengu is running a gangling for the rest of his mates, which is why he was left for last, as he won't have as much offensive capability as the rest of his team. But it's not going to save him now. Looks like BricK squad will take this match, even though they took some pretty hefty losses.
So, there's tons of, what are these things called, Dramules over here. Those have been kind of flavor of the week for a while now on TQ. Do you think that they're strong in the tournament as they have been on the live server with just the immense speed and flexibility?
I think as far as controlling an opponent's positioning and being able just to completely lock them down, I think the Dreamwheel is an incredibly powerful ship for its cheap point cost. I think it also does a respectable amount of DPS and has actually a pretty decent amount of utility with its drones. I mean, you could use ECM drones with it and still be quite a solid team. And it looks like the last Tengu for Panda Team is down, which leaves BricK squad to take the match. back to Soundwave.
It certainly does. We are a few minutes behind schedule, but don't be alarmed. We will be back as soon as possible with Circle of Two versus Indecisive Certainty. It will just be a few minutes while we get the team set up, but don't go anywhere, and you will have the final match before our short break.